I'm getting older, and so you look back at your life and you think about things and how things have come together. And I'm struck by the fact that there are three parts to my life: being a priest, being a teacher, and being someone involved in the art world, an art collector.
So, Jennifer, our friend here, Martina, as you're doing this, but as soon as you get it, we'll send it on. All righty?
And they all kind of go together. They flow into one another. And it's funny, they flow into one another in terms of content. I mean, you know, kind of what I talk about when I'm a preacher is certainly related to my teaching and my scholarly research, but it's also related to my experience in the art world and with artists. And when I relate to artists, well, I bring to them inevitably who I am, and who I am are those other two things. But in some way it also sort of works in terms of what I do. I mean, teaching is not unlike preaching, and teaching and preaching is not unlike trying to get people interested in the art collection. And there's a kind of ritual quality to the tour that I do with people. I mean, there's a beginning and there's a build-up and there's the stories, and it's totally me and it's totally sincere. It's what I mean, but at the same time, it has a kind of slightly ritual quality to it because I've done it many times. Here's the first piece, John McEwen's Angel and Mountain. It's a wonderful piece. It fits into this spot perfectly. Some years ago, John had done a piece for the War Museum up in Ottawa with this mountain range kind of theme. And then later, he had an installation. And there was a figure just this shape, just this, but much smaller, was an angel. And then he got the idea of bringing them together. And then he wanted to lift it off the ground somehow, but that was too difficult. And so he used these steel rods, and they do lift it off the ground. They give it a sense of somehow being a little bit higher. I tell my friends it's the recording angel, and if they're not nice to me, they're in trouble. Here's a kind of fun piece. I put it here right at the beginning of the collection. I tell people it's the key to the collection. It's by a Latino American, Luis Malo. I bought it at Stephen Bolger's gallery. It's a photograph from the outside of a stained glass window. So you can see a kind of protective glass that's been broken. And then over that, you have this wire mesh. So you notice the color right here in the center. And when I ask people what they think it is, nobody gets it. They don't see it. And yet if you look closely, you can see here an eye and a nose, and then like a blue veil. It says that the head were this way and a hand is here and the blue veil. It's clearly Mary. It's from a lamentation scene. There's a Christ, head of the Christ here, but it's under this protective glass. So it's like the collection. There's something there, but it's not on the surface. You have to look for it. This is a really wonderful piece. It's by Reinhard Reitzenstein. And just the shape itself catches your eye as you begin to walk down the hall. Reinhard does a lot of things with trees. He has bronze pieces. He does photo-based work. This was in a show, and the largest piece in the show was a big bronze tree. It had been cut down, symbolized his mother who had died not long before. And then around the gallery, he had a half a dozen pieces like this, the same size, same shape, and they all had trees, and they were all based on stills from films. When I saw this one in relation to the tree on the floor, I felt vulnerable but hopeful. And that's exactly what it is. It's from a film by Tarkovsky, the Russian director, called The Sacrifice. And at the beginning of the film, this man is walking through the woods with his little boy. We can hardly make him out there. And he's telling him stories. And one is about a Russian monk who planted a dead tree, watered it every day for 3 years, and it came to life. So at the beginning of the film, he plants the dead tree. and the whole story unfolds. It unpacks what actually is implicit here, the whole Christian symbolism, death, life, the self-sacrificing to save the world, and so on. The very end of the film, after the man has, in a sense, saved the world from a nuclear blast, the boy lies down under the tree, looks up, the leaves are coming out, and he says, what does it mean to say, in the beginning was the Word? Opposite, I put this piece by John Clark. It also has a tree, and it's a very touching piece. John did this about a month before he learned that he was dying of cancer. Earlier, he had done a series of paintings of trees becoming birds, or birds that had been trees. And once he did a figure like this in a field. And here he is bringing these things together. You see here a tree becoming a bird. You have a sense of transformation. And clearly the figure is frightened at what's coming. I've been struck over the years how positively people react to the collection here at St. Mike's. And I think there are three things involved in that. I think there's individual pieces, and I think most of the pieces are really good pieces. I mean, I think they're top-flight contemporary works of Canadian artists. But then there's also the juxtaposition, the fact that I've brought pieces together, and I really put things in relation to one another so they talk to one another, so that they bring out dimensions of piece. I've had so many people come through here who know a particular artist and who say, I never thought about such and such in relation to them before. The simple fact that I've put it in relationship to some other things makes people sort of look at the other things in a new way. And then finally, there's my take on all of this, my stories. And it's the combination of the three things that seem to come together. And it struck me not long ago, there was some people here and they were just taken by everything. And I thought to myself, there's a real power in this. And the power somehow is in the combination of those three things.